Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Tisch. I'm the Public Works Manager for Gateway Services. We're here for the pre-bid for the Gateway Lake Bank Restoration Phase 2 project. I've got Tyler Wainwright with us, our engineer of record, to answer any design questions you might have. So.
So, I guess just give you guys a quick summary of the project we're working on. This is the second year of this project. Well, no, that's not true. This has been going on for several years now, but last year was the first year where we did a significant quantity of lake repairs. So this is year 2. There are 6 lakes in this go-round. They're lake numbers 60, 61, 90, 110, 119, and 121. There's plans provided for each individual lake, however, they are being bid in groups of 2. So there's 3 separate contracts that are being bid on. The bid sheet identifies which ones are which, but 60 and 61 are grouped together, 90 and 92 are grouped together. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's not correct. 110, and then 119 and 121. So geographically, we try to group them together so staging would make sense and one area would be done by one contractor. That's the intent. Each contract will be awarded individually based on the lowest, most responsible bid for each. Contractors may bid more than one contract if they so choose. However, contract time, overall time, will remain the same regardless of how many contracts are issued. So if you get 2, you still got to get them done in the same amount of time. If you get 3, you still got to get them done in the same amount of time. So bid accordingly to how much you guys can produce. Overall, it's substantially similar to the approach that was taken last year, the ones that did bid last year. There are some changes. The primary change is that on some of the lakes, the TR rim was removed and it is only being repaired using the non-woven geotextile with rock and riprap on top. The basis of that was mostly to save costs on construction. The lakes that have been identified to use that approach were the lakes that we all walked around and felt they weren't as bad as the others, so they try to prioritize them accordingly. Some lakes are all one approach, some lakes are mixed, and some lakes are all the other approach. So they're identified on the drawings of which ones are which. They're color coded, one's blue, one's yellow. Other questions? There's what else? There are areas identified on the plans as far as staging areas, areas for parking and restroom. Some of these lakes, most all of these lakes, abut residential properties, so it's obviously a concern for those. There's drainage easements identified on the plans of where there is platted access. There may be arrangements made with homeowners outside of those areas, but that is for, I guess, the gateway to assess prior.
The district, and we'll work with the contractor also, if the easement areas we have aren't the most desirable, we do have the ability to work with homeowners to secure other access through some of the other properties that aren't part of easements. I guess the other thing I would also say, if you do have any questions today, things that you want answered, I've got my cards here, so we do want you to submit written questions if you do have a question, instead of us just taking notes and stuff. If you have a question that you want answered, I ask that you submit it to me in writing, email, and then we will provide a response to everybody. Okay.
The other significant change from last year is that on the previous contract, the materials were pre-purchased by Gateway and provided to the contractor. That is not the case on this contract. The contractors are providing all of their own materials on this. So, other than that, be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
What's the timing,
The overall contract time?
or when do you plan on starting?
As soon as we can get through contract negotiations, I mean, as fast as we can start it is, we want to start as fast as we can. I mean, we have to follow all of, obviously, the rules, but it's, as soon as we can get to written contract and agreement and get it approved by the Board of Supervisors, we will move as fast as we can.
Yes, sir.
Is the funding in place to engage in contracts as soon as you decide who the lowest contractor to be awarded?
Yes.
I guess, as I recall from previous discussions, the county was coming down and requiring development orders or LDOs. Is all that in place, those permits?
The development order is, I don't have the development order yet, but before you start, we will have the development order in place.
Is it one per lake or is it grouped?
Each lake will have, each set of plans, we're submitting all of them as one group. So it'll be one development order that covers all the lakes. And they're also, I guess not shown on the plans that Tyler has, we will also, some of the lakes do require littorals, and I do have the littoral plans that also be added. I have to do that as an addendum. We have the existing development orders for the lakes that require the DOs. We will be utilizing the already approved littoral plans that the county approved for each one of the lakes that do require littorals. They're not overly, there's not a huge amount, but there are littorals that are required on some of the lakes.
So you are gonna have those littorals on this contract then?
Yeah, I realize we don't get, it's not part of the SRF, but we still have to put them in as part of the GO requirement.
Okay.
They did, when we talked to them, they said we were gonna still need to put in littorals.
Okay.
Are there any South Florida water management requirements?
No.
They haven't been yet.
This is being approached as a maintenance project. That's how the district is approaching.
Yes, sir.
On spec 01530, it calls for installing fence 6 foot high around trees. That wasn't there the last time. Is that something that's going to be required?
01530. It'll be a responsibility to safeguard any trees that aren't being proposed to be removed in the work area. The specifics about a 6 foot fence, no. We'll just ask you to protect the trees, but we can modify that section on this fence.
Staging areas, are they going to be defined through visit or basically just where the entrance is to each lake?
So, there are, some lakes have multiple areas available for staging that's property of the district that we have and will identify. Some lakes are obviously restricted on what land is available and they'll be limited on staging areas. But, we can identify that in an addendum and list the areas that we have available for you.
Irrigation overlap. Who's responsible for, the irrigation that is in the limits of construction, capping and like any other contracts? How is that going to be handled?
Currently, and this is subject to change in the opinion of Gateway, currently, it's the contractor's responsibility. Now, I would recommend highly that you ask that question in writing and we can address it accordingly, because that's one of the items that we've been discussing, and to be real honest with you, there's not a firm answer on it. People have different opinions, so we will definitely answer that clearly before the bid is due, but I invite you to ask that question.
One of the things that, speaking with the district manager, is just the issues we had last go around, and for those of you who have done lake shore restoration projects, it's an item that always causes lots of issues with the homeowners. We're looking at, we've got a landscaping contractor that did irrigation work for us on the last project. And some of the thoughts we're having is to actually work with each group of residents on each lake to address the irrigation, have them turn on the irrigation. That way we could know where it's at, and have them pull back to the limits of the LME, cut it and cap it, and then they can address it, after the project.
So the homeowner is gonna be responsible for cutting it?
No, we're
With
looking
the-
at,
the contract.
looking at bringing in the irrigation contractor, to work on that.
Okay.
Because it is an issue, and it became an issue, and still an issue today. It just doesn't end.
I'm sorry, as far as if they're all concurrent, someone gets them all, you said that you're limited in time to doing everything concurrently. How long is the maximum time that you're allowing if someone were to get all three contracts?
The contract time is established as 90 days. Trying to see if that's substantial or final.
Substantial.
90 days substantial, 30 days additional to final. 90 and 30, so 120 total. 90 substantial, additional 30 to final.
And just so, all of you know, if you looked at the lakes here in Gateway, they draw down significantly. When the rain comes, last year it came real fast. We went from what you see in the lakes out there, they filled up, probably 3 feet in a period of 10 days. Rain came and just kept on coming. So if you're not done, that's gonna be a problem.
Clarify that timing, I'm just reading there, it's per lake, correct, 90 substantial per lake? That's the word.
It says that per lake, however, all of the NTPs will be issued concurrently. So it's 90 days from the issuance of an NTP, all of the NTPs will be issued concurrently, so they won't be staggered. Yes, sir.
Yes, I remember in the last round, as it relates to the bubble-up structures, we had some issues with some washouts during construction. I know that, I can't remember which lakes it was, but one of the contractors had chosen to use some additional stone with a non-woven wrapped around it downstream of it. Was that any consideration for that kind of detail to be added to the plans? Has that been thought of at all, or?
That's been thought of, but no modification has been made.
Okay.
I should say, on the bubble-up boxes in general, the intent is to establish a unit price for the bubble-up boxes. As we did with last go-around, not all of them are gonna get installed, some cases more than the planned number are gonna get installed. The intent was, if the homeowner had drainage that left their yard and entered the lake, that they would attach to those bubble-up boxes. And then if they didn't have any, we would put one there in case they wanted to add one in the future. In some situations, that may not be practical, some people may have more than what we show, some people may not have any. The numbers are gonna be modified and they'll be field adjusted. The intent is to establish a unit price for those boxes and then field add or delete as necessary. Sir?
The bubble-up boxes are in the trench line. It was discussed, perhaps consideration to move them up higher to where the higher point in the property instead of in the trench line. Is that a consideration?
I don't think so. I'm not of the opinion that helps you at all. Because the problem with, the whole point of putting them in the trench line was to have it so when it bubbled up and washed down, it would wash over something that was armored or protected. If you move them up higher, yeah, it gets it on a flatter part of the slope, but you're basically washing water into something that doesn't have anything. So I'm of the opinion that that's worse. Now, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, that's just my opinion. So these plans are established that way. Yes, sir.
The riprap, there are two details. One is calling for 4 to 8 inch, and the other, in other areas are calling for 4 to 6. The 4 to 8 is available, and there's 3 to 6 available. 4 to 6 is special order.
It's 4 to 8, probably it's a typo, it says 4 to 6. It should be 4 to 8.
4 to 8?
Correct.
Okay, so the 4 to 6 we eliminate.
Correct. Which one is that on? Is that on the?
It's in the actual detail.
It says 4A.
C. On C1 and then,
C501.
C501 and then C502.
Oh, no, you're right, it says 6 to 8 and then 4 to 8. It'll be 4 to 8, I'll revise that. We'll write that down. Thank you.
OCP insurance, is that required?
OCP?
It's in the.
Law firms?
No, it's an insurance that was, used to be bought years ago, but it's in the insurance criteria section. We didn't have it in the past.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure what OCP insurance is, so I'll have to look into that one and see what that one is.
We go back to 502 real quick.
Yes, sir?
And that riprap is in the detail without the HPTRM.
Yep.
Are you trying to indicate there's a basket around that riprap?
No, it's just riprap.
And that's also at 18 inches diameter?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It'll be the same exact cross-section for the two options, except one got anchors in TRM and one's just not.
Just wanted to make sure.
But the rest is the same. What was the insurance, OPC?
OCP.
OCP.
It's in the supplemental condition, I think. It's
Was in the
saw it.
DEP supplemental conditions?
I think so.
Because there's.
I'd have to look again, but.
So, something I should have mentioned earlier, I'm sorry, I forgot. This project is being funded by the state of Florida through SRF money. There are requirements associated with that. One is for certified payroll, one is for Davis Bacon wage rates. There's a variety of requirements in there, and they should be spelled out fairly clearly. And to go along with that, the reason why I'm saying that is, there's a set of supplemental conditions that the DEP requires in all the contracts. So it may have been in there and I just missed it, so let me double check that and see if that's in the DEP supplemental.
So that requires certified payroll.
Yes.
And in reference to permits, we're supposed to pay for permits, other than right-of-way, potential permits that we need to pull if we're working on an easement by the road. Any other permits that you feel that we're gonna need to pull except through you?
The one that you definitely will need, you'll need to do an NOI. And then depending upon the means methods of your construction, you may need a dewatering permit if you lower the lake levels. That's up to you guys if you choose to construct that way. If you do, then a dewatering permit will be necessary.
And that's with South Florida?
Yes, sir. What else y'all got? Well, I guess if nobody's got anything else, by all means, all the questions that you asked today, please submit those in writing so we can get those out officially to everybody. If you have anything else, the last date for questions is, you know?
Is this mandatory?
Yes, sir.
So make sure we get everybody's name.
I don't know what this says. Well, in any case, bids are due on Monday, February 19th. Maybe we'll put down an addendum identifying last day for questions.
Yes.
And, so watch out for that. I'll address that one detail as far as the riprap is concerned, certainly an addendum. If there's anything else you guys see or have questions on, by all means ask. It is mandatory, it is a mandatory pre-bid, so please make sure you signed in. Yes, sir?
Might indicate that if any of the contractors want to go around and look at the sites, and they are, Gateway Greens, which has 2, is gated, we can let the guardhouse know immediately to let you in, identify yourself that you're bidding on the project, and they'll let you in. Might have to go through checking the license and that type of deal, but nobody should stop you. What, the other 2 are what? Devonshire,
Stony Brook.
Stony Brook has the same requirements, so will somebody be contacting Stony Brook? Make sure their guards let the guys in.
Right, well, they're supposed to, I mean, in talking with Margaret, they're supposed to be able to go in, and all I need is, they're supposed to just show their driver's
ID.
license, and they're supposed to be granted access. Has anyone gone in there yet?
Sure, they want your driver's license and, it asks who you're with and, you know, what portion of that you are, if you're a sub or what, and they sign you in and you go right in.
No,
Yeah, it's gated.
no other problems.
No, there wasn't any.
Devonshire, that one lake, that's not gated, I don't think.
No.
So, I guess for site visits, there's not an organized site visit. I suppose, how would you like to handle that, Mike? Would you like him to contact Gateway and tell you first, or just have at it?
I was gonna say, I mean, you can visit them at your leisure.
Yeah. We went, the one over there, and we're just gonna go to the other 2. We're done. There's one, well, the one right over here, and then there's another.
There's
close to here.
one's right across the street behind the church right
Right,
here.
we got that one, yeah. And then I think number 110 is close here to us.
Yes. That's
That's
over
Devonshire.
in Devonshire, that's this lake right here.
Yeah.
See on the screen, it's this lake.
Okay.
And you can come in off of Gateway Boulevard. Say the name of the road there.
Devonshire.
Lakes
Come back
Drive.
T and just drive around.
Yeah.
Or go
You
the
can
other way
actually,
around.
you can park there at the, in the pool parking lot.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is the week of March 5th realistically a target week for NTP?
So bids are due on the 19th. The first available board meeting after that would be, let's see, the 1st and the 15th. So the first board meeting would be March 1st. So the earliest contracts theoretically could be approved would be March 1st. But in reality, it's,
Do we have to get DEP approval?
yeah, we'd have to send all the bids to DEP for concurrence, which is normally just like a day process, it's not a lengthy deal. I would say March 5th may be a little ambitious, it may be the following week, but the first 1 or 2 weeks of March would be our target.
We have to have a board meeting special to be able to do this and save a week. A week is very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, the bids are the 19th, and then you've got the end of that week and the following week, and then the meeting's on the 1st, so. Should be enough time. I mean, we'd have to get contracts executed and everything else, all that certainly takes time, but doable. We'll do our best. Well, thanks for coming.